Hey there, CJ Math students. So today we're going to go through notes 2.18. This is the final set of notes before our test tomorrow on Unit 2. So make sure that you finish these and other notes that you haven't finished that we'll be collecting in your binders. So we'll be talking about nothing but properties today, and we have all these properties for addition and multiplication that can help us simplify expressions. So for instance, the commutative property states that the order of addition doesn't matter. I can move stuff around, right? An example of this is something like 2 plus 3 is the same thing as 3 plus 2. Another example is -4 plus -5 plus -7 is the same thing as -7 plus -4 plus -5. They add up to the same exact thing. So the commutative property of multiplication states that the order of multiplication doesn't matter. And we've used this property already multiple times when we were trying to simplify rational expressions. It's a really useful property. Look for it a lot on tomorrow's test. The associative property, I'll do a couple of examples. So like -7 times 4 is the same thing as 4 times -7, right? They both equal -28. Doesn't matter if you did -7 times 4 first or if you flipped it and did 4 times -7. So basically we can move stuff around, okay? This only works for addition and multiplication. There is no commutative property of subtraction or division, right? Because 2 minus 1 is 1, whereas 1 minus 2 is -1, right? And 2 divided by 1 is 2, whereas 1 divided by 2 is 1/2. So there's no commutative property of subtraction or division. The associative property of addition states you can add regardless of how numbers are grouped, and we have the same thing for multiplication, so you can multiply regardless of how numbers are grouped. All right, so here's some examples algebraically, right? A plus B is plus C is the same thing if I just instead move these parentheses over and say, oh, B plus C first, then do A, right? I can give you an example of here of 1 plus 3 plus 5, right? Even if I tell you to do 1 plus 3 first, that's going to give you 4 plus 5 is going to equal 9. Well, that's the same thing as saying, okay, well, this time I want you to do 3 plus 5 first, which will be 8 plus 1 will still give you 9, right? And it's the same thing for multiplication, right? If I said do 2 times 3 first and then multiply it by 4, well, this is 6 and you get 24. Well, what if I said do 2 times, but then this time do 3 times 4 first, and that's 12, but the 12 times 2 is still 24. So you're going to get the same product and the same sum either way. All right, the identity property of addition, subtraction, and identity property of multiplication and division are probably the two easier problems. So the identity property of addition says if you add or subtract 0 to / from a number, you get that number. All right, so like 7 plus 0 is going to be 7. 7 minus 0 is going to be 7, right? The identity of the number 7 does not change when I do addition or subtraction of 0 to or from it. And the identity property of multiplication, think about it. How could you multiply a number and not change it? You just multiply by 1. So if you multiply or divide by 1, you don't change the number, right? 8 times 1 is 8. 8 divided by 1 is 8. Okay, so the identity property is all about, hey, this number that I have will not change. For addition subtraction, if I add 0, subtract 0, or for multiplication division, if I multiply by 1 or divide by 1. Finally, the distributive property here is you can multiply a sum by multiplying each add-in separately, and then adding the products. So let's do something like this. So 3 parentheses 2 plus 5. This is saying do 2 plus 5 first and then multiply it by 3, right? That should give us, if we did order of operations, right, 21, right? 2 plus 5 is 7, times 3 is 21. Now, what happens if I did this? 3 plus 2 times 5, and instead I said I'm going to multiply the 3 times the 2, which is 6, and then the 3 times the 5, which is 15. And that would still give me 21. So it doesn't matter which way you do it. If you do it order of operations way, where you add them first and then multiply by 3, or multiply each and then add their products. And lastly, the zero product of multiplication is any number times 0 is 0, right? So don't get that confused with the identity property of multiplication. That's any number times 1 is that number, or any number divided by 1 is that number. But this one is any number times 0, 15, times 2, times 8, times 11, times 0, times 5, times 4, just 0. Zero product of multiplication right there, okay? All right, that's it for part 1.